What are the top three UX design trends you foresee dominating in 2023 and why?
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about not UI related, but more design in general related. I will say the first one is breaking the myth and breaking the actual trend that COVID would shift the paradigm entirely. The first thing are the assumptions that we had that would happen after COVID that are not realistically becoming the truth. So it's reshifting again whatever was forecasted for for these years. That's not happening. The second one, definitely artificial intelligence. It has been growing for a lot of years, but I think now is the time that we can actually notice with user front related content. So we have, for example, ChatGPT that everyone is using, right? And it's the first time that even if it existed a long time ago, it is the first time that people with not such a common approach to technology are understanding and noticing that this exists, right? So it's being like a one-on-one approach for people that these kind of technologies were not approachable before. And the third one, I would say a shift in digital doubles and digital twins. A lot of people are taking a lot more care on whatever they use in the permissions and privacy settings than before. Before you would get any notice and you would sign it off, and then you will see people that are actually being very selective on who they share their data with and why, right? So let's place an example. Before you used to have 780 notifications on your phone, and now all of notifications have to have a component on when to personalize, right? Because people are starting to get sick of technology. So it's kind of coming back to the roots in some sort of ways, but are the other at the same time adapting this technology as part of their lives. So I would say right now, those are my top three, but I can see them changing during the year.
Let's expand on the second one too, how AI is going to play.
Mhm.
How does that impact UX if so many things are going to be automated? So how does that impact user experience?
I think it impacts in a lot of ways. The first one is this myth that our jobs will be replaced by AI. In some sort of way, I can see some aspects being replaced by it, but at the same time, AI so far cannot replace the human component, right? That it's pretty important. And then on the second part, I believe that before AI used to be a great add-on to whatever product you were designing, and now it's a must. So people are expecting to have AI that before it was just like, oh, wow, look at how it's working, right? And now they are looking for this predictive text. They are looking for more certain and better answers because they are used to getting them. So if you don't include that within your strategy, then you're just leaving the product that you're working with behind, like way behind, right?
Gotcha. And then do you have any examples of recent projects where you've incorporated any of the trends that you mentioned?
Yes. I'm going to share my whole screen. I think it's easier that way. If you read anything that it shouldn't be reading, then just let me know. Okay. So I think the first one is talent systems. So talent systems used to be a casting network, right? That was kind of left behind in this way. This is for the artificial intelligence. And what started happening is that it started getting so much competition. So right now we have the saga strikes. We have a lot of things going on that have shifted entirely the way that people cast for actors, right? So what was happening with this piece of software is that it was just super hard to be able to find someone or to search for someone, right? And what this is doing is that it's creating a database that makes smart guesses based on what you need, and it provides you beforehand whoever might work for the role that you're casting. Okay, so what we did is was amplifying the search using artificial intelligence. So as you can see, it has way much more predictive. Yeah, it has a way larger predictive search so that people are not like they don't have to look for, let's say, I want Robert Pattinson for Batman, right? I want to look for hazel eyes, blonde hair, male. And you will get so many results out of that, right? And it will even help you start predicting what you're looking for. So what it happened is that it optimized a lot the search process so that people would get so many results out of what they were looking for, okay? This also has to do a little bit with the way that, with the first one that I was telling you about demystifying the whole, what's gonna happen after COVID, right? Because what they thought that would happen after COVID is that everything was going to be remote. And they would say, remote casting is the way to go. But then they were missing a component, which was what's going to happen with chemistry readings, right? We cannot have chemistry readings on Zoom because it won't work out. So they actually ended up splitting it in half, right? So it was kind of introducing some of the trends that started in COVID when, like, after having these like in-person castings, because they noticed that they were not replaceable 100%. Okay, so it's kind of like taking a little bit of both, like pre and post COVID. Yeah, this is what happened on this one. Then on the other two, we have, I can give you access if you want to this file, I think. Right?
Oh, that's okay. I don't need to look into the
Okay.
file. Yeah.
And as you can see, it also has like an automated reply, which is pretty cool because that's something else that people were expecting, like this immediacy when you want to talk to someone, right? So you will be able to chat with the agents and the agents to like have an automated reply, which is pretty great since they can even say, yeah, he's not available for those dates. Here is the additional info that you were requesting.
Yeah. Automated responses are just like, it's almost a must in every
Exactly.
now. Like if you
But
don't
that
have an automated response, it's like you're so behind on the trend.
exactly. And that's exactly what I was telling you. Before, people were not expecting it, right? It was just like a wow, I have an automated response. And now it's like if you don't have it, you'll die,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think the same thing will happen with artificial intelligence. Like, well, it has happened. So yeah, these are some of the screens you will see. You're able to make lists based on what like the software is suggesting you. Yeah. And then we have for the other two, the schedule game is pretty cool. Okay, so we were approached by this guy who had an idea about making a gaming community. And this part of the gaming community was very, very interesting because we actually dealt with digital doubles. So what happens is that people before used to have this idea of a digital double, knowing that it was a digital double, right? But right now, it's just part of who they are. They don't even see it as a digital twin, okay? But because of that, they want to be sure on what they are sharing. So they're much more careful, as you can see, in forums, in whatever thing they're sharing, right? The country of residence, the password. As you can see, we had to minimize these fields. If you ask them, for example, for age, they would say, why should I give you my age, right? If this is supposed to be a free community and I just want to express myself. So we added like the date of birth, which actually was supposed to change to year of birth, just to get an idea of who they would be talking to so that we wouldn't get into these legal problems, which gets into the other part, right? People are starting to take more interest on, well, if I'm going to become part of a community, I wouldn't want my 9-year-old talking to this 40-year-old who likes to play, Call of Duty since 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. So it's starting to become a little bit more hardcore privacy related, right?
Yeah. And I wonder, just on a side note, like at what point companies are going to integrate more security into their platform. So if you like, this was a great example, right? Like you don't want your 9-year-old to be playing with a 40-year-old person, right? So how can companies integrate more security? Where are they verifying their IDs so that we don't have the huge age gap and the person that you're playing with is actually amongst your peers and not some old creepy dude that's trying to prey on some, young kids. And I do
Yeah,
think
I think
that could be part of the trends moving forward as well.
so. I think that we have the two-step verification process that has to do more with scanning or taking pictures of your ID. It's quite similar than what we had with Deal, right? But at the same time, that is another thing that has been starting to become not a trend, but yes, a concern within the digital environment, which is how do you measure values within these communities, right? Because you shouldn't be lying. I remember, for example, when Facebook started, they said, oh, it's for over 18, right? And then you could see a kid just adding their date of birth randomly, just adding their parents' date of birth. I did it, everyone did it, right? So now this ID verification process, I think that it's kind of working out, but not all companies are implementing it. It's more of banking, fintech, but I can see that becoming something, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Just like you need to verify this is you. And even becoming, because I just saw in Portugal, which was kind of cool, this guy who had a digital wallet, including all of your identities. And with the digital wallet, you were able to share it with apps for them to verify that it was actually you, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, it cuts out the process.
Yeah, it's smart. So this is what I was telling you a little bit about digital doubles. I think gaming is one of it's a very interesting community to research because they are very high tech savvy. They deal with it like with all of these all the time without even realizing it. We had, for example, one lady, like one girl who was a pro player. And at the beginning, she used this voice distorting machine so that she would sound like a guy because she didn't want male players, like male gamers, to realize that she was a girl. And
Yeah.
one time she forgot to turn it on, and everyone was like, oh, wow, so you're a girl? What's happening here? You know, which is pretty cool. It was kind of like embedded in the way that she works with.
Yeah, that happened. There was like a big viral post as well that it was like the opposite, where it was this old Japanese man who was pretending to be this really hot young girl on a
Yeah.
motorcycle. And so she slash he got super popular because it was just like this hot girl on a motorcycle, right? And then one day he forgot to turn on his filters and everyone realized it's like an old dude. Yeah, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah. And what's also interesting, it's how the communities, like digital communities, are dealing with this sort of users, right?
Yeah,
Because before you would blame the platform, but right now you will blame the managers and the communities.
yeah,
So be like, how did, I don't know, this Discord channel allowed this old guy pretend to be a lady? And before you would blame Discord, right? But
yeah.
now you will blame the channel owners, which is pretty interesting too. So as you can see, this is a way of creating your like kind of a digital twin for gaming. It gives you recommendations and classes with pro gamers, which is pretty cool for you to achieve better results in your gaming stats. Also, something interesting is that the way that they are measuring their success comes from a like their personal success comes from a digital platform, which is also new, right?
Mm,
Before you would say, oh, I want to buy a house and I want to have 3 kids. That's kind of your parents. Then
yeah,
it was like the era of I don't want to have kids because they're annoying and I want to travel the rest of my life, which is me basically.
yeah.
And
The
then you
middle
have
note.
this, yeah. And then it's this third generation who says, oh, I'm ranked number one in these sort of games. So that's a satisfaction and that's like a personal goal that I achieved. So now I'm successful, right?
Yeah, it's the evolution of how you're defining success. It was very, very fascinating now that you mentioned it. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like parents' generation is like how you raise your family and what your kids are achieving. And then our like millennial generation is how many countries you've visited. And now the Gen Z generation is like, where am I number one? How many followers do I have?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if most kids' dream is just becoming an influencer, which I think it's super fun. I want to become one myself, but Angela doesn't want to help me. So yeah, she said that if I start kind of like a stand-up comedy show, I might have a chance, but my humor is too dark to be able to do so. So I don't know if that will work out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of shows the three trends that I mentioned before. I don't know if you want to see anything else.
No, that was awesome. I just have one more question for you, which is what challenges do UX designers face when implementing these new trends and how can they be overcome?
That's pretty hard. The first one is staying on top of everything. You have to read a lot because, and I think that it's not even new. It's something that you always have to do with this job. It comes with the job, right? Because every week there's a new trend, and mostly with artificial intelligence. So if you're not reading all the time and catching up, you're going to be like the old platforms that just stay behind, right? The second one is adding this human component. Before we used to be researching and fielding in person, and right now we are doing it digitally, which leaves a whole bunch of the population behind. More when we're talking about Latam, Africa, right?
Mhm.
People that do not have access to technology, but are also very important and heavy users. And I will use Facebook as an example, right? In the US, Facebook has become kind of like old. No one wants to use it after the data leak. They're just like, Facebook, I don't care about it, right? Let's move into other platforms. Same thing with WhatsApp. In Latam, WhatsApp is the primary communication platform. So if you don't have WhatsApp, you cannot communicate with anyone. They don't even know, like most of them don't even know Telegram exists, for example.
Mm, mhm,
But at the same time, these communities don't have enough broadband to be included in remote sessions.
mm,
You actually have to go and talk to them, right? So I think that's another challenge, like how technology is leaving behind some very important parts of these products overall of their users. For this, I would say you need to be looking at the broader panorama on how your product will expand, that most people are not thinking about that.
mm,
I will say, wow, there are a lot of them. Always keeping the human component, which is pretty tough. A lot of people talk about products and they say, oh, yes, my product is amazing and it's going to do this or that. But they forget that there has to be someone using it, right? So I would say always keep that in mind. And it's also very hard. It's becoming very hard to fight for research.
mm, mhm.
People are in a stage where they say launch first and discuss later, right? But in the first launch, they are wasting a lot of money. So, so yeah, I would say that that's like an example. And I would say those three that come to mind right now, but I know that there are a lot of them.
I think those are great. Yeah, so those are all my questions. Thank you so much. By the way, what tool are you using to like track your face on the call? That is so cool.
None. I have a very expensive monitor that
Uh,
Accenture gave to me and I never gave back.
okay.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I thought it was like
Well,
an
because
AI.
like if I play cards, there you
Oh
go.
my God, that's so cool.
That's the new Zoom update, but it doesn't work with everyone because Paul keeps trying and
Yeah.
it's not
Wait,
working
so
out for him.
no, it's not working. Am I supposed to have a filter?
No, just Zoom.
Oh, okay. It's not working. All right. Well, thank you
Let me
so
know if you
much.
need anything else.
Yeah, no, this was perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you, Jeannie. Bye.
Okay, bye.